Check out the difference between all three of these setups, the 250, the 350, and then the F-Sport from the GS and the RC. Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. So if you've been following the last couple episodes on my brake upgrade projects that I've been doing on my IS250 here, you'll know that I've been painting these calipers and rotors and prepping everything for the big brake GS300 F-Sport upgrade. My car's actually got the 13-inch IS350 rotors and calipers on it right now. I did that upgrade about 11 years ago, so I decided to go bigger with this GS350, the 14-inch rotors and calipers on this with a two-piece rotor on it. So I did this upgrade, and if you saw last 3 episodes, I basically went through it, I prepped it, I did base coat, clear coat. So on today's episode, I'm going to end up taking the tape and getting all these calipers and rotors and everything that I've got drying for the last couple days, all ready to put on the car. So stay tuned, guys. Before we get started on this video, I wanted to remind all my subscribers and my new subscribers and any new viewers on this video about that VLAND headlight giveaway that I was doing on that build I did last month. I had a contest that for subscribers and for likes and views on that video, and you know, one of you lucky winners were gonna get those set of headlights once we hit the metrics that we needed to on that video. So if you haven't checked it out already, check out this video, and if you've already sent in your drawing entry and all that, remember, just keep on sharing. You know, get your friends, your family, whoever, other car enthusiasts to check it out, subscribe to your channel, and the sooner we get to the 5,000 subscribers and the views on that video, the quicker we can do that drawing, and one of you lucky winners will actually, you know, get these headlights that I was trying to give away. So check that out. So these things been drying out here for about 3 days now. Everything's nice and hardened. The clear coat on there, the black on this. Up here, you know, the actual rotors, the calipers themselves. Look at that gloss and that metallic on these things, man. I love that thing. So these are ready to get prepped for install now. I'm gonna have to take them down, take out all the tape, get everything ready. You got to put the grease all the parts on this thing, get the boots all put back on so I can put it out on these rotors. Got to peel all the tape around the edges. You got to be careful because it's hardened now, so I got to take a razor blade and actually cut the old tape, you know, where the tape and the clear met, so that way I don't peel any of that clear off the metal. So we'll be doing that right now. Man, these things came out pretty nice with just the ring around it, painted the same color as the caliper. Looks like some aftermarket rotors, you know, especially with them being two-piece and all. Look at that, turned out great. So what I'm gonna do before I install these, I'm gonna bring out the scale. I'm gonna measure the weight of this rotor and caliper. I'm gonna do the caliper up there too. I'm gonna measure the weight of the IS350 ones on my car right now, and then I've got my 250s or a set of 250s, not my original ones, but I got a set of 250s, so I'm going to take those out. I'm going to measure and compare all 3 weights. So I've got the rears all peeled off, and you know, the nice glossy black. The reason why I did black instead of this orange for the rear is because I didn't want the rear to stand out as much, and there's way too much area back here to be painting that. Plus, you know, it's not a big brake like the front, so I didn't really care. So I wanted to just have a nice clean looking gloss black. So this ended up, and you know, around the edges you can see I didn't do it you know, perfect, but I actually taped it a little bit wider than the score line from the pad. So once I put it on the car and I have the pad on, the pad's just going to cut that into a perfect round circle anyways, right where that jagged edge is from where my my just little half-ass taping, so that should be fine. It, you know, doesn't look good now, but once it burns in, it should be fine. Just same with this outside part where some of the areas I didn't really care. That's all eventually gonna get worn down by the pad anyways. But so this is all, you know, the center hat and the, you know, that side area is what I cared about. So we got those all assembled with the moly grease. So what I'm using is just some Honda 60 Moly 60 paste. This is from my motorcycle days, back when I had a motorcycle. So it's a good grease. It's you know, moly grease, which is anti-seizing, 60%. So that's yeah, I've got those all inside those boots. It's a pretty messy, nasty grease. It kind of gets over everything. I had to wipe everything with degreaser just to get all that moly grease off, and I'll probably have to wipe it again once I get on the car. So next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put on these F-Sport stickers. So I ordered these on eBay for like $8, and the first set that the guy sent me was these guys, and when I got it I was like, nah, this is not gonna work. You know, there's no way that looks a little dinky. So he made one for, I guess, I don't even know what kind of rear caliper OEM one would fit that smaller one, but the big one, there was no way gonna fit on this. So I made him actually send me another set. So he sent me 4 of the same ones. I took measurements of the width of this, so he basically just proportioned it based on the width to cut it. So when you buy these on eBay, just specify how big you need them to be as far as width to fit your caliper, and then they should be able to send you a cut one and send it to you, instead of sending you one of these stock ones they have that don't fit. As a little pro tip on these, to kind of get them straight, I would recommend laying down a piece of tape, like a masking tape across, to make a straight line, and then kind of get these on there, because so that way you can line up the top line with that line before you get on there, and then you won't have a crooked sticker. So got these babies on there now. I went with the black with this orange to kind of contrast better. I've been so used to the setup I've had now on my car, which black calipers and some silver Lexus stickers. I decided to change it up a little bit. Instead of using the Lexus sticker, I'm gonna go with the F-Sport sticker this time, just to see how I like it. If I don't, I'll end up probably ordering some Lexus ones if I get tired of these, or they look too ricey or whatever on my car. But anyway, turned out great. You know, the shine, the stickers kind of give it a little bit of performance look on this car with the color now. So I liked it overall. So one of the things about making this a budget or a poor man's big break upgrade is it being you know, affordable. So if you guys saw my initial video on these, I only paid $200 for these calipers right here. I got them from a junkyard in Atlanta, but a lot of the junkyards I was researching had it for about $100 each, maybe 100, 120 each, shipped. So I got the one that was probably the closest to me, where the shipping wasn't bad. They ended up being a little bit more beat up than I like, you know, as you saw in my first video, but they were acceptable. You could probably find some, you know, ones in better condition if you look around or you call around and see how they are, if they have pictures posted, which a lot of times they don't have pictures posted. The rotors on this, on the other hand, are the most expensive part. These things are about $250 each. In the description I have links to these on eBay, but yeah, they're not affordable compared to other rotors, but they are 2-piece. They are lighter than most. They've got the aluminum hats in the middle. If you really want to make this a poor man's or a budget build, you can get the single-piece Centric rotors. They range anywhere from $30 for their C-Tech, which is like the bottom of the line budget model, up to their premium line, which are $75, $80 each. They make a middle of the line. I think it's coated with a black coating or some kind of coating on it, and I think they call it the GSK line or GSX line. Those are about they're $65 each shipped, and they're from the reviews I read, which aren't many, they should be almost like the premiums, but I think the premiums are they're cryo dipped or whatever they are for better strength and better quality versus some of the other stuff that they have on the lower lines of the Centric. But I'm not really sure because I haven't really seen that many reviews of that new middle of the road line, but they are about $20 or $30 each cheaper than the premium line. So that's another option if you want to go really budget on these and still have the big 14-inch rotor and then the bigger calipers, if you could source these calipers on Carpart or on one of your local junkyards. So I'm gonna get the rear brake lines ready. So the rear brake lines for this car are the part numbers 950-44504 Stoptech, and these are a universal kit. They fit a bunch of other cars. I think it fits some Audis and some other vehicles when you look up that part number. But basically, it's as long as it's the right length and the back part here can connect up to the one on the factory end, it should be fine. And they're universal, so it doesn't matter which side is which. The one thing that you'll notice, it comes with all the hardware, so I recommend replacing all that. It comes with new set of copper washers, which are a little different than the ones that come on here. The one on here is like a little U washer. And then it comes with new. If you need these, I'm just gonna keep my old ones on there. The ones that I have are perfectly fine, so I'm gonna keep those for some of the time if I ever lose it or it deteriorates. The one thing I'd noticed is the bolts. The bolts are, so this is the one that comes with Stoptech. The holes are a lot bigger, both that side and the front end versus the OEM one. The OEM one, the holes are like nothing, compared to there, if you guys can see it, focus. But yeah, you'll definitely use the Stoptech ones to move more fluid through there. So I'm gonna go ahead and get that onto this side right now. First thing we want to do is get this banjo nut off. So you want to use a kind of a closed wrench hex so you don't strip the threads on it and it doesn't slip on you. It's a 10 millimeter. So we got everything on this side buttoned up. You saw me on the back side there tightening up that banjo nut for the line. So you see the line basically comes down, dips, and then does a little loop up here, and then comes in that way. So that way the suspension, when the suspension goes up and down, it has room to travel up and down that way, so it doesn't interfere with anything up here, like if you had rear wheel drive with an axle or whatever. So that is pretty good. The pads and everything are still loose in here, so once I bleed it, everything will be tightened up. I had a little bit of trouble trying to get these clips in the right order, so it looks like first I forgot this top clip right here, putting it in, so I had to pull that pin out and put it back in. So you're gonna put that in there, and you kind of clip this back one in, then you got the cross one that clips the two pins together. You gotta clip that in, and then the best way is to kind of clip this thing over that or under that to kind of lock those both of them in place so they don't go anywhere. So I'm gonna go ahead and do the other side now, and I won't talk through that one. I just get it done. You see I got this side on a lot quicker than I did on the other side, since I wasn't as careful, and I got everything done. No, well, I was still careful, but I knew what I was doing now. So anyways, you can see the banjo nut in there. Got it right onto the caliper with the enough slack up to the hard line here. Mounted it back to the factory location with the factory clip there. Made sure that the boot was moving freely and it was all the way out, extended and sealed on the top. On the lower boot here, that the one that gets moisture and water into, I made sure that was sealed up and full of grease, and everything is nice and tight in here. So this is ready to go, and I'm going to get to the front and get the rest of this project done. So we got the wheel off. So what I'm going to have to do now to take these things off, I got to bolt the caliper. I think it's 2 17mm bolts back here. Pull this baby off, unbolt the brake lines, drain that into that Dasani cup or Dasani bottle that I was using earlier. And then I've got 4 bolts that hold the hub on. Once I pull the rotor off, I gotta take because the backing plate right here is kept on by those 4 bolts that hold the hub on, so I gotta pull that off. Probably the hardest part of that hub is trying to unplug that ABS sensor and making sure that you don't break it or pull it out too hard and yank on that wire. But other than that, it's a pretty straightforward step to pull this whole assembly off, so I could put those new backing plates from the ISF on here to fit the 14-inch rotors. Those backing plates for the ISF that I'm replacing, that's a totally optional thing, especially if you're going for the poor man's or the budget build on this, because the reason why I'm replacing it is because I wanted it to be proper, and I like to kind of go over the top on stuff. But if you were just content with using the 250 or even the 350 ones you have, you could just bend this back, just kind of bend it off so that way it doesn't rub against the new rotors, and then that should work too. So it's all up to you. I mean, it's $30 or $40 each item part. That's totally optional. So that came off pretty easy. They were 17mm for both the caliper bolts and those 4 bolts for the hub right here. The hardest part was trying to unloosen those 4 guys right there. I think last time I took them apart, I probably torqued them really tight, so I ended up having to use a mallet to bang on it. There's not much room back here. As you can see, it gets hit by that arm to kind of get any other power tools or the impact wrench or any of this stuff back there, so I ended up just using that mallet, and it worked. It just needs a budge, and then after that you can shoot it off. But yeah, so the brake line back there, I'll be doing that once I put it all back together. Mine's in pretty good condition, not much corrosion overall. My car is also garage kept and is in Florida, so it doesn't experience as bad of conditions as some of you guys up north. My lower boot there is pretty good condition too, just normal grease and stuff over the years kind of seeking out. But eventually those will have to be replaced. They usually break or bust. So I still had my 250 setup from way back in the day. Actually, this is not even my setup. Actually, one of my cousins took my setup because my rotors were actually still in good condition. His ended up with a lip on it because he ran the original OEM pads and I ran the low dust pads, which didn't really burn my rotors. But then also didn't even put that many miles on them. I probably had like 10 or 12,000 miles on them when I took them off. But so we got all 3 of them right here with the dust shields that I had from my last swap there that I swapped out, and then the calipers on all 3, so you can kind of see the difference. So you're going basically from a 12.1 to a 13.1 to a 14-inch rotor right there on those 3 different sizes. What I'm going to do today, I brought out the scale. I'm going to measure the weight on all of these and see how they all stack up and compare. I'm going to do the rotors first. We'll see how these stack up. So this is the new 14-inch. We're coming in at 23.1 on this guy. This is the old GS350 right here, 24.9 pounds. Old 250 is 14.9 pounds. So this one is really light compared to those other 2. We'll see how the calipers weigh now. So this guy registers 12 pounds, so 12.2 pounds on the 250 caliper. So I had an idea. Well, I'm gonna do some math on these. So since these were too light, I'm gonna put this on and see how both the weights add up on these two. So there it is. So this to 20.7 minus 12.2 for that guy. So it's actually heavier. So earlier when we were measuring these new F-Sport ones that I got were actually lighter than the old monoblock one. And after just kind of analyzing how they redesigned the shape of the caliper, you could tell that they shaved some weight off of it by trimming, like, you know, so, like this little edge here. They didn't trim it on this side. On the top, you know, they kind of cut away a little bit of this, even around the pistons here, where they still had it like a one solid piece here. Here you see they trimmed it a bit. Look on the back side, they kind of did the same thing there. You know, they trimmed some of the material off there, where over here they kept it kind of solid. These two calipers are almost exactly the same. I think the piston bores are exactly the same. They use the same pads and everything. The mount is a little different, as you can tell, because this one's shorter because obviously it's for a 13-inch rotor and this is a 14-inch rotor, so they offset that a little bit wider so it fits around that rotor. I think underneath they trim, well, no, not really. Underneath they kind of kept it pretty much the same, so they trimmed most of the monoblock on the outside, so it shaved a couple pounds off the whole thing. And you know, with aluminum and all, every pound is a couple dollars savings in material when they're casting these and making these. So that's makes perfect sense from a manufacturing standpoint. I was noticing the difference between the three dust shields between the ISF, the IS350 and the IS250. I noticed this little groove that's cut out on the 250 and 350 for air to channel into the disc and the caliper, where on the ISF it doesn't really have that that channel on the end here. Is just kind of a straight edge, no big old bump or anything. I'm wondering why they did that, maybe because they didn't have room or something. And then one of the things I also noticed when I finally looked at it now is I wasted my efforts on painting and glossing the wrong side. The whole time I thought this was the back side because of the way the lip folded back, but this was the back side, so I glossed up and I painted most of the paint on this side versus this side. So that kind of sucks that I spent, you know, all that effort, and this side's more orange peely and less paint coverage than the side and this is the side that's going to be visible, you know, facing out towards the car. Because you can notice on the 350s the lip is bent backwards, and that was kind of what I was judging why I was painting on that side. So that kind of sucks on a waste of paint and resources on the wrong side of this, you know. But it still looks kind of, you know, it looks good though. I mean, it's, you know, it's still kind of glossy. It's more orange peeling and less coverage, but it's better than that bare metal that comes like this. Then it's going to be much easier to wipe off clean too. Now I gotta take the backing plates off the old ones, transport them to the new ones. So I'm using low dust pads. I used low dust pads before, which is the green. They switched it to blue for some reason. It's just a different version of the low dust. This one, the low dust ones are a different compound, and they're softer on the metal. You compromise performance for low dust, but you know, since I'm a daily driver on these, and it's just for looks, I don't really care about the performance. So So now I'm gonna put the lines on. As I showed you guys earlier, the bolts for these Stoptech lines are much bigger as far as the holes go, so I'm going to reuse those. And they come with these caps for the bleeder valve, which I'm going to just end up using the OEM one that came with them anyway, so they're still in good condition. Man, that looks good. I got them all mounted up, got everything buttoned up back here. I just gotta double check all my bolts, make sure they're tight, torqued down a little bit better. The brakes ended up being pretty cool, the orange and blue Gators. So you saw the way I put in that brake line, it was kind of twisted a little bit, and it looks twisted now, but it's supposed to be like that. That's the way the factory one was when I took it apart. It doesn't mount like the rear one where it kind of droops down and hangs and comes in from the bottom up. It actually bolts in from the top down, and it kind of keeps it out of the way of the rest of the suspension and the wheels and everything back here. So it kind of does that little twist and it bolts down. And the Stoptech ones don't have that little stopper that goes onto the head of it that goes into the caliper. So you kind of got to eyeball it where that stopper would have been on the factory one right here. If you look at that one right there, that little plug thing that goes in, the Stoptech ones don't have that, so you just got to eyeball it and kind of figure it out and then tighten it down. Don't tighten too hard because that's a hollow bolt and it might break. So now that I got everything on this side put back together, get on the other side. I'm gonna do that one straight time lapse, no talking. I did most of my talking on this side on the explanation on how to get it in, so just enjoy the time lapse, guys. Alright, so it's time to bleed the brakes. So you're gonna need like a little piece of clear tube. I've got this clear tube that I've been using to bleed brakes forever that fits right over the bleeder valve. You'll need you'll need that little bottle of any kind of empty bottle that you can see the fluid coming out of in. So I'll use that Dasani bottle that I've been draining into. First thing you want to do is get a new bottle of brake fluid. I'm just using the regular Prestone stuff that you buy at the store. You're supposed to change the stuff every 2 years, 2 or 3 years anyway, so that's why I don't really, I just use the Prestone .3 synthetic for all my brake changes. And I just, we want to max that out for now and then start bleeding around the car. And then you need a second set of hands, so I've got Leah over here. Say hi, Leah. So Leah's gonna be in here pumping the brakes for me while I go around all 4 corners and make sure that there's no bubbles and I can bleed the line right through. So let's get started. Ended up turning out pretty good. I'm about to test fit some stuff right now, kind of see if my my stock 18-inch wheels will fit, and then also I know my my spare tire won't fit. The spare tire for this car was designed for up to 350s, but I think it barely fits those, so I'm gonna have to go pick up a spare tire for the GS350 F-Sport. It's like 18-inch one that looks like a rim. I think it's got like 5 spokes on it. It looks like a rim. It's not like the donut, the steel donut that we get on these 2IS. So these stock wheels on the 2IS do not fit on here. They're very close. So the shield, first of all, the shields, the dust shields from the ISF don't clear. Those things are way too big for it. So if you didn't have that, you might have a fighting chance. But then once you get in there, it looks like the caliper hits the outside of the rim. These rims have a weird design where they step down in the center versus the back, so they're higher in the center, so there's less room in there. If it was a regular 18s, it might fit. When I was talking about that step, you can see right here, comes out and it steps up maybe like a 1/4 inch. In the back, when you first step in, it steps up like a 1/2 inch, but that's not one that's affecting it, is there. But yeah, it's basically sitting on the caliper right now. Looking at the back of the wheel, you can see, so this is the first step that goes down. So if the wheel was straight through, that would be perfect. But that's the second step was, you know, a little bit. Then that third step, it's like a little tiny step that ends up hitting right here on the caliper, right on that part of the caliper. So, you know, the high part of the caliper. And yeah, so you see the ISF dust shields are way too big for this, so those block everything too. So if you didn't go with ISF, you might be able to get it on there, but then it still wouldn't clear the wheel, this particular wheel. It would probably clear regular 18-inch wheels, just not these particular stock 2IS wheels. So I'm gonna have to go looking for some 19s now just for stock wheels laying around. Hey, thanks for watching till the end of the video, guys. Hope you guys got something out of it, whether it motivates you to do this upgrade, or if not this upgrade, at least do the 350 upgrade if you've got a 250. It's a pretty straightforward project, as you can tell from my instructions and all that, putting it on. I'm a little bit extra when it comes to just kind of doing stuff right. That's why I had all that prep done for the paint, and I went overboard on the paint. But you know, that's the way I am on my projects in my car. I'm gonna post a parts list, you know, on either side of me once I get this video edited, and I'll show you how much I paid for what I ended up buying. And then if you really want to go big, you know, budget, like I was explaining earlier, I'll post the parts and everything for the budget build, and I'll keep the links down in the description to all the parts and all that. If you're looking to get these, the hardest part, the source, is going to be the calipers. The calipers on this is right now is mostly junkyard. They're not available as rebuilds or remanufactured from a lot of car parts yet, so it's either you buy new or you buy from a junkyard. You saw I try to fit my wheels, so my original 18-inch wheels don't fit on these calipers, so I'm gonna have to go looking for a set of 19s, probably some RCF, or not RCF, but at least RC ones. The spare donut doesn't fit either. I tested that out. I knew that one didn't fit because even back in the day, the ISF guys couldn't get that to fit, so they ended up having to get an ISF donut to fit big brakes. So I'm going to end up getting a GS350 big donut. The GS350 F-Sport donut is like a 5-spoke rim, and it looks pretty good compared to this thing. It's like $100-something bucks, so I'm gonna look around some junkyards and get that. But anyways, I want to thank you guys for watching all the way to the end. Make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you guys next time.